Hello and welcome everyone to tonight's show. I believe this is episode number 31, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm just going to test and make sure that we are on and live. There we go. We're on. If you're watching live, you're watching from chirothoughtleaders.com/ask-dr-Zaino. I know for all of you who are watching on live right now, I don't need to tell you that. But for everyone who is watching the replay on YouTube or wherever you're watching it, remember that's where you go Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. to be on live with us right here. And I want to thank everybody for being on tonight already and posting questions. Ryan, thank you for posting your question in the live chat that you're going to see scroll down below the live video there. And I want to encourage you to ask your questions tonight. Tonight, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you're going to see an image there that says the Influence Summit. All right, I want you to check that out. Now, that is a seminar that's going to be coming up September 17th in the Chicago area. All right, so certainly if you're anywhere around there, you definitely need to be in there. But even if you're not around there, I went to this last year. It's a COPS event. I don't know if you ever heard of that. They're a chiropractic entity that puts on philosophical seminars, and this place is going to be awesome. This seminar, if you click on that, it'll show you more about it, but Roberto Monaco is going to be there sharing Influenceology, the art and science of moving masses to take action. Dr. Zaino is going to be there speaking. Excuse me, he's talking about the mindset of a closer, all right? And this is something that I've been really studying right now is how to close. You know, the word being a salesman gets a bad rap, but everyone is a salesman. I mean, your kids are salesmen. My kid's always he's into costumes like Batman and Superman. He's always trying to sell me on buying him another costume. There's the art of influence, the art of getting people not to do what you want them to do necessarily, but to get them to do what's best for them. It takes an influencer. And that's why you and I both have to be just skilled, professional influencers in order to help people, to get them to do the things that they need to do in order to be well, in order to be healthy and successful and be able to achieve their goals. I've been studying, I don't know if a lot of you have ever heard of Eben Pagan, but I've taken several of his courses, and right now I'm studying his Conversion Summit, and it's all about conversion. It's about the psychology of taking that person through your process, you know, understanding the story, understanding how you give your story, you share the art, the science, and the philosophy, and then you move them into making the decision that's best for them. And one of the things that he said was, and I know Dr. Fred, he's on here a lot. I think he was on here last week. I think it was last week, Dr. Fred was on here. And Dr. Fred always says you have to get the person out of their comfort zone or they're never going to buy from you and they're never going to convert to care in your office. And I never really understood that. You know, like, why would I have to get somebody out of their comfort zone? But none of us change without getting outside of our comfort zone. It's like a thermostat, right? If the thermostat is keeping it between 70 and 74 degrees in your house, it's not going to make any type of a change. It's not going to turn on the heater. It's not going to turn on the air conditioner until it gets outside of that comfort zone. It's the same thing for you and I. It's the same thing for our patients. If they don't feel like they are somewhere where they don't want to be, then they're not going to change. They're not going to take your advice. They're not going to join, and they're not going to sign up for any of your plans. So how do we get that person outside of their comfort zone? Well, have you ever noticed that people that come into your office that are there's some that are just so easy to sign up, but you didn't even have to talk to them. You just had to present the care plan, say, this is what you need. And they're just like, boom, I'll do it. Well, those people are usually the people that are already outside their comfort zone. I had a young lady that came in with migraines. She's had a migraine every single day of her life since she was 16 years old. Unbelievable. She tried everything from surgeries to every medication in the book. And she heard that chiropractic might be able to help her. Somebody actually told her that. She came in, we showed her neck, which was a severe negative curve, and she was only like 20 years old. And she goes, oh my God, I don't know why nobody's ever told me this. I'll do it, sign it, prepaid for care. And it wasn't that she had a ton of money. It was that she was so outside her comfort zone, and we were able to show her that what we have will help her to get back in that zone that she wants to be in. Now, take that and move it into wellness care. Have you ever had you do the presentation? I do a lot of lunch and learns and dinner workshops, and I'm always selling the checkup. I'm like, you know what? Everybody needs to get their spine checked. I don't care how old you are, whether you're a kid, whether you're 99 years old, you need to get your spine checked. Come on in for a checkup for, $100 to $150, whatever it is. And so people sign up for a checkup, but you know what? They're not outside their comfort zone. They wanted to get their spine checked, and then they see that there's a problem, but it's like, nah, sometimes they sign up, sometimes they don't. So learning to be a closer is learning to get people outside of that comfort zone so they can see they need to make a change. Anyway, I say all of that because that's exactly what you're going to learn at the summit. You're also going to see Dr. Ashley Oshner, Dr. Jason Wise, their guests there. I can't be at this seminar. They asked me to go, but believe it or not, I had already made plans with my wife. She's going to an event that she wanted to go to. I said, I'll stay home with the 6-year-old and the twins, 2 years old. And then I found out that they wanted me to go to this summit, but sometimes you got to do things for your wife. So I won't be at that one. I will be at Dr. Fred's event though in October that you guys should check out. You can go to elitecoachingllc.com and you can see Dr. Fred's event. So, but getting back to our questions, I do appreciate you guys posting them. I could hear you posting them every time you post into Chatroll. If you are logged into Chatroll, you're going to hear that sound, that beep. And let's get started with the first one here. Ryan says, what kind of apps does Dr. Tabor and Dr. Zaino use to stay organized, write goals, etc., keep your life running like a battleship? All right, I love that. So one of the things that I use that's it comes with every iPhone is Notes, right? So I find it hard to use, so there's a lot of apps out there for organization, but half the battle is learning to use the app and then remembering to use the app. So two of the apps that I use that already come with the iPhone, is number one, reminders, because even if I put something in my calendar, if I don't have an alarm that goes off, sometimes I forget to do that, right? So I set reminders. I actually learned this from Brendan Burchard, and I put a reminder in there that goes off twice a day that, let's see, what does it say? It says productive, it says kind, and it says innovative. And it just pops up twice a day, reminds me that that's who I want to be. I want to be somebody that's productive. I want to be somebody that's kind, that if somebody, if a friend says, who is Tabor, they want to say that he's a very kind person, nice guy. I like that. And then number 3 is I want to be an innovator or creator. And so twice a day, that beeps, that it goes off on my phone. I look down, I'm like, oh yeah, I am productive today. I'm a nice guy today. I'm an innovator. I'm a creator. Anyway, I recommend you do that. And Brendan Burchard does that. I've been doing it ever since I watched that video on him. But nevertheless, I also scheduled, I have a lot of interviews. If you've ever seen my podcast, it's Practice Growth Strategies. You can look on iTunes and see that podcast. And so I interview chiropractors who are successful. And so I'll set up interviews throughout the week. Well, you can forget an appointment really easy, at least when your schedule starts getting busy. If you've ever noticed, you forget things. I set a reminder 15 minutes in advance for every event that I have, and it pops up and an alarm goes off. The other app that I use, it comes with the iPhone, is called Notes. It's just simply a notepad. That's all I do. And I like lists. And I used to write my lists on sticky pads. My wife would just go crazy because I sticky pad on everything. Sticky pad on the wall, on my wallet, on my shoes, sticky pad on the computer. So I use Notes a lot on my phone, and I make lists. And so with Notes, I can make a list. You can even make a grocery list, but I check off everything that I don't check it off. I actually delete it. So let's say I have 4 things I definitely want to get done today. In my notes, I write those 4 things out, and then I don't delete that anything until it's done. So once I finish that task, it's deleted. I can see that there's 3 tasks on there. That's just it's nothing that I learned from anybody that's amazing, but that's just a system that ends up working for me. Probably one of the last apps that I use that was not just, it doesn't come with the iPhone. You have to actually download it from the App Store, is Tiny Calendar. It's TINY calendar. And the reason I love that calendar is my staff, like we schedule all of our talks, our events, our team meetings, everything's scheduled on Google Calendars. That way that we can share the Google Calendar with each person. You just have to have a Gmail account, and so everyone can see that calendar. But I also have my own Google Calendar that I don't want everybody seeing. It's a personal calendar. And then, you know what? I also have a lot of Mac products, so I use the iOS calendars that are just on my computer. But if you download this app called Tiny Calendar, it will sync with every single calendar you have. Just virtually, I don't even know one that it doesn't sync with. So I can see my staff's calendar, I can see my private calendar, I can see my Apple calendars that are on my cell phone, that are on my computer, and no matter where I enter that schedule or that appointment, it's going to come up on Tiny Calendar on my phone. I just hit Tiny Calendar and I can see all those appointments no matter what. So I think that's extremely handy. So hope that answers your question, Ryan. I appreciate you being early and asking that. All right, Phil says, thank you for allowing me to join in. You're very welcome. I have been practicing for 37 years in the same small town. You know what? Before I even read the rest of that question, Phil, I have a deep respect for you. And I have a deep respect for every chiropractor who's been practicing for decades. I love it. I want to be that chiropractor someday. I want to look back and say, I've been practicing for 40 years. Because you know what? Anybody can go out there and do something for a couple of years. Anybody can. You could go be, I don't know, you could go drive a truck for a couple of years, right? But if you do it for decades, that means you're dedicated. That means day in, day out, when you don't feel like going to work, when you're burnt out, when you're put out, when you can't stand people anymore because they've bugged you so much, you go. Anyway, you get up, you go to work, and you do it. And I have the most amazing respect for you, Phil, for practicing 37 years. Congratulations, and thank you for doing that for our profession. Anyway, we'll go on with the rest of the question here. Handcuffed by insurance, okay, what would be the first step for me to transition my practice to what chiropractic truly is? Okay, so let me give you a quick answer that I know is Dr. Zaino's answer. And then let me give you a little bit longer answer that is a more understanding and answer that I would give. So Dr. Zaino is going to say, rip the tape off, man. Rip off the Band-Aid. You got to say, I'm going to do it. You got to switch it all right now. Dr. Zaino is an amazing implementer. He's going to, no holes barred. If this is what is best for the practice, we're doing it. You wouldn't just stop taking insurance totally. What you would do is actually all of your new patients would be cash patients, and then you would finish, the existing patients that are on insurance, you would finish out their plans on insurance so that it's you don't want to upset anybody and tell them, oh, we gave you all this care plan, we've been accepting your insurance, then all of a sudden we can you, right? But every new patient that comes in from that day forward where you draw the line, those are cash patients. And then, to be a little bit more accepting in that answer, and in my opinion, I think that, I have friends who have very successful chiropractic offices that they're still taking insurance, and they're in network. Now, for me, my wife won't let me. We're all cash in my office, in both of my clinics. I have 2 offices in Houston, Texas. We're all cash practice. We don't accept insurance at all. We do what we call a super bill. And I stopped calling it a super bill because nobody wants a super bill. Like, I don't want a bill, much less a super bill, right? That sounds terrible. So we call it a super receipt now. And so we give our patients super receipts, and then they would mail it into their insurance, and then they can get refunded that way. So, but I'm all cash. The reason is because insurance scares me. It's a headache for me. I had to pay, more staff. My overhead was more expensive. I didn't get paid half the time. I was always worried, like, am I doing this right? Am I coding this right? Is this, I was worried more about this number on a sheet than I was the patient, right? And so I just said, you know what, I don't want it anymore. And I never was in network. I was always accepting even out of network insurance. I was always out of network, and I accepted out of network. And then finally I got to the day where I'm just not doing this anymore. They can deal with their insurance, and they can get refunded that way. So I think you have to be 100% congruent with what you feel like is the best for you, and then find that way to slowly move into it. And I think the one thing that keeps, and you can look at Patrick Gentempo, look him up. He has Freeform. It actually shows you kind of how to transition into cash. I think it's a great program. But I think the one thing that would keep chiropractors from going all cash in the beginning is they're just scared that they're not going to be able to, one, they're not going to be able to get the new patients, right? And then two is that they're afraid that the conversions will go down, right? So if I'm presenting this care plan and I tell this person I'm not accepting their insurance, that they have to pay $2,000 out of pocket, that my conversions will fall off, then I'm not going to be getting the amount of money that I can. And that's why I would recommend the Masterpiece Report. If you go to masterpiecereport.com, you'll actually get, you just have to put your name and email in, and you'll get three free videos on how we do the doctor's report. The doctor's report builds so much value in what real chiropractic care is, that people pay cash for it, right? They're like, you know what? I'd rather be here getting care from you than any other office in this area. So that's a tough question, Phil. I know if you've been practicing that long, you've been handcuffed by insurance for that long, that it's hard to get out. Number one, because I think both aspects are correct. Number one, you have to rip off the Band-Aid at some point, and you have to just say, you know what, we're going for it. Number two is I think you can transition without ever having to be that uncomfortable. If you start, seeing all the new patients that come in, start doing a doctor's report, or really learn ways to build that value to show, the importance of care in your office, and then present those care plans in a way that more people, are signing up, that your conversions stay up there. And check out masterpiecereport.com. I guarantee you, when you watch those training videos, even the free videos, you could buy the program too, but even the free videos will definitely help you. I hope that helps you, Phil. And I appreciate you practicing for 37 years. That's awesome. Letitia, here from New Zealand, grateful being with you all. Thanks. It's always good to have you on here, Letitia. She's always on here, and we really, really appreciate that. All right, so another question. What is your financial procedure to close a family of 3 when the mother agrees to corrective care plan and the other family members have an exam and are wanting corrective care? Do you give them a family discount, or are each person in the family charged separately? I'm usually told that they will wait until one is finished. And you're right, man. This is something that I don't care how big your office is, or probably I don't even care how long you've been practicing. It's I wouldn't say difficult, but it's a harder situation to sign up families. But I love families, and so I give a discount in my office. I give a family discount. The second person in my office gets a 35% discount from their care plan. So if the first person, the spouse, comes in and I present their care plan, it's 36 visits, it's $2,400, and let's say they sign up, and then the spouse comes in for their checkup and they need corrective care as well, I'm going to give them a 35% discount. I know that, and listen, my first care plan is $65. It averages $65 a visit is what my initial first full care plan is. So I know that when I'm giving a 35% discount, I'm taking a lot of a hit, maybe even getting like $35 a visit, or, $40 or whatever that is. To me, that's okay, because I want to be a family practice. But let me tell you, it's about, what we talked about with closing. It's about getting that person outside of their comfort zone. If you want to charge full price for that second care plan, by all means, you do it. And besides, I don't know, let me do a little disclaimer. I don't know the rules for discounting care, whether you can or can't in your state. I don't even pay attention to that. I just do what I want to do, but within a ethical, moral pathway, of course. So I give them 35% care discount on that second plan, because I want more families. I want the spouse to be able to come up. Too many times I had the spouse come in and they're like, well, we're just going to do her first because we can't afford it. And so now I'm like, look, if you do it now, you're saving 35%. If you wait and she's not under care anymore, then you have to pay full price. So it's actually an encouragement for that person to say, you know what, let's save this many hundreds of dollars, and even if they need to move the payment plans out or whatever it is I need to help them do, I try to get that spouse under care because we want to see families in my office. Now, kiddos already have a kids plan, which is less expensive in my office. And if both parents are under care, then I want to say for the kids, it's like I do like $97 a month for a kid if both parents are under care. Now, I'm telling you guys my care plans because I don't really care. Like, those are my care plans because that's what I want my care plan to be, right? And I think that's what you have to do. I think we have to be smart about it and say, look, I have this much in overhead. If I see this many people a week, I actually have to make $25, $35 per person to pay my overhead. That's how much it costs me to be open. Now, how much profit do I want over that? Do I want it to be $65 a visit, $75 a visit, $85 a visit, whatever it is you want in profit? That's what you set your prices at, and you build value to make it worth way, way, way more than that. But at the same time, you're the doc. And so you get to decide what feels right, what's congruent, and what works out. And in my office, we even call my office Pure Life Family Wellness because I want families in my practice. I love it. I love being around them. I practiced for 2 years. Well, I actually practiced for about 6 months in an office when I very, very first started. I don't even tell people about this much, but we saw a lot of PI. Oh, just hated it. And then when I opened my own practice, I saw a couple PI patients. They were just, for me, and I know there's probably good people out there who do PI. For me, it was miserable because people were miserable. Some of them just wanted to take advantage. And I said, no more. I'm not doing PI. So but in the same time, I know that Brad Glowacki, amazing guy, he teaches how to do PI. He does PI, which is perfectly fine because it's congruent with what he wants to do, even though he does also see families. So it's kind of where you want to be as far as congruent, but also something that makes sense because we have to be profitable so that we can go out there and we can share even more to the masses. I hope I answered that question okay. And to answer it very straightforward, what I do is the full price for the first person, 35% discount for the second person, and then if both parents are under care, I do a monthly price for the kiddos that come in. So that's how I do it. All right, awesome. Oh, thanks, Phil. He says, thank you very much. Good advice. Awesome. Next question. Do both of your offices enforce the mission requirement? If they don't give you names, do you accept these patients under your care? All right, so, man, I'm coming clean with my procedures in my office tonight. Zaino is 100% no questions asked. If you don't give names, you're out. Even if you've already paid, if you prepaid care, you gave him whatever his care plan is, $3,000, $4,000, and you won't give names, you're out the door. Here's your check. Here's your money back, and forget it. And you know what? He sees over 2,500 patient visits a week. Okay, so obviously that's probably the best way to do it. That being said, I'm very independent person. I do what I want to do. I strongly encourage, and I give bonuses for people who give me names. Okay, so I try to do, instead of no, you're not going to be able to be in our office type of thing, I say this is a requirement office, and we're going to give you, my book, healthcare, sick care. You're going to get this home spinal care, role or whatever it is, just for putting down, so many names in our office. We really appreciate you doing it. It helps us to share the message, and it's going to be a great time. We want to make sure that you're there at the dinner and really try to be nice about it, genuine about it. And most of our patients put down names. Most of our patients bring people to the dinners. And so, I want you to know that there's a little bit of love there, right? It's certainly, if you are very analytical, you're hardcore, you want to do it perfectly, don't let them in. You know what? Enforce that mission requirement. And if that's congruent with it's totally congruent with Dr. Zaino. Okay. So Dr. Zaino says, look, if that person is not, if he's not going to share names, he doesn't care as much as I care. He doesn't understand my mission, and therefore I don't want that person in my office. And I get that 100%. I get it, and I think it's awesome. For me, it's more, and I like I said, even when that notification that pops up in my phone says kind, when I leave this earth, I want people to look back and go, Tabor was a nice guy. You know, I want them to know that I was kind. I don't know that that's necessarily everybody else's, you know, goal in life, but for me it is. And so I want to try to love them and encourage them, and then also try to get them to do the care plan. Thank you for the multi-family advice. What does Dr. Zaino do? Good question. I don't know whether he gives discounts for the second person in the family. I really don't know that, but I will find that out, and I'll either bring it when he comes back to the next Ask Dr. Zaino show, or I'll actually email that out to you, Doc, because I don't know exactly what he does for family discounts. I believe they do get a second person discount in the family, and I think kid plans are less expensive. I know kids plans in his office are less expensive than the adult plans. How about the family policy? If they have children and they get under your care, are the children automatically under your care? Yes. The children have to at least get checked in my office. Now, they don't have to come in for care. I'm not going to kick them out of my office if the parents say, I don't want them to have care. But I in a loving way, I say, you know what? When you're in here, when your kids are in here, can I check them? I've never had somebody say, oh my God, no, don't touch my kid, right? Especially when we build that good relationship with them. I say, I just want to make sure. I found that alignment issues run in families. Let me make sure that your kid doesn't have what you have, that they're not starting to develop the same subluxations that you've already developed. Do you mind if I check them? And most parents are like, oh my God, please check them. Yes. So at least they have to get checked, and then I'm going to be able to present them. And so then, but at the same time, I know that Dr. Zaino does not allow you in his office unless your kids are getting adjusted, even to the point where he will help you out financially, mark the kids' care plans down, or even if like you literally have no money, like kids are adjusted for free if you have no money. I think that's how they do it, because he makes it so much to the point that it's like, if your kids don't get adjusted here, you don't get adjusted here, right? And again, man, that's why Zaino's Dr. Zaino. That guy is freaking amazing. He's phenomenal. Like, he's my mentor, obviously. You guys know that. And he's to the book, and he doesn't care about middle of the road things. He says, if your kids don't get adjusted, you don't get adjusted in our office. And I respect that. I think that's absolutely amazing. And I try my hardest to get kids under care. Most kids in my office get adjusted with parents. I might have a few that say no for some crazy reason, but then even then I'm working with them, trying to love on them, trying to share with them how important it is to get the spine checked. And if people stay in my office long enough and they start to really understand what we understand, they get their kids checked. They really do. Awesome. What you do in this life ripples into the next. I believe that 100%, Letitia. Thank you. You're welcome. Says, thank you for your answers, Tabor. Much appreciated. Awesome. You know, I love your guys' questions, and I just want to thank you. I know, Dr. Zaino's not here, but I hope I'm doing a good job at answering these questions. I've studied Dr. Zaino so much that I don't think there's another person on the planet that would answer the questions or would know his answer to like every single one of these questions. So I really appreciate you guys participating tonight. And I wanted to cover, I actually answer if you contact us by email. And by the way, if you ever need anything, it's Chiro Thought Leader. It's Chris Zaino at chirothoughtleaders.com. Just send us the questions. That's support. And I handle all those support emails. And so I know a lot of you might have some of the same questions that, awesome. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate your feedback. I know that y'all might have some of the same questions that have been coming in about some of the products. So before we close tonight, I wanted to make sure that we got those questions in. We actually have a last-minute email question, and it's from Robert. He says, hey, Tabor, if it's not too late to get this question in, I'd like to ask one. Absolutely. I've been feeling the start of some aches in my wrists and shoulders when adjusting. Amen to that. Anybody who has high volume, my goodness, sometimes that hits you. Since you all are higher volume doctors, do you have any advice about how to combat this? I want to stay ahead of it as much as possible since I want to be practicing for many years to come. Thanks. Great question. And always one that is in the forefront of my mind because sometimes I start to ache, my shoulders especially, my goodness. And then also, like Robert said, wrists, they start to hurt too when you're just adjusting and adjusting and adjusting. So obviously the real easy question for that is to try to, turn over some of the adjustments to an associate, but not, you can't always do that. Like I'm running 2 practices. So, and we have 2 docs, but one's in, one's at the Tomball office. The other one is an exam doc in my main office. And so most of the time I'm doing most of the adjustment in there. And so hundreds and hundreds of adjustments during a week, you start to hurt, right? So if you can't have the associate take over and do some of those adjustments, the thing that I would recommend is a strong anti-inflammatory diet and supplementation, as well as exercise. Guys, I noticed this, and having practiced for almost 10 years now, I've went through I've constantly exercised my whole life. I played sports when I was in high school. I played sports in college. I went to chiropractic school. I kept exercising. I became a chiropractor. There's literally been never a huge span of my lifetime where I didn't go to the gym or I didn't exercise ever. But there has been smaller ones where I've gotten so busy, so stressed, so many things going on that I would go weeks or maybe possibly even a month or 2 without going to the gym. And always, every time at the end of that span, not going to the gym or not exercising, my joints started to ache. So I highly recommend, if you're a chiropractor, you want to be able to adjust for years, make it a consistent practice of going to the gym and exercising, doing some cardio and doing some weight training and making sure those joints, I mean, it's, you and I know this, if somebody doesn't have the good stress, they call it eustress, on your joints, then the joints begin to get weaker. They begin to break down, right? So we're constantly, at least 3 times a week, but sometimes I try to go 4 or even 5 times a week to the gym. If we're constantly putting good stress and we're constantly putting some pressure and using these joints in our body, those joints are going to be used to that increased pressure. So whenever you have like a 300, 400, 500 a week adjusting schedule, your joints, you might still hurt. Trust me. Like whenever I adjusted, I used to cover for Dr. Shane Hand. His office saw 1,400 visits a week. I would cover and I would see when he was going, like literally my adjusting part was like 700 or 800 in 1 week. Oh my gosh. I remember on Fridays getting done adjusting, just laying on the chiropractic table going, oh my goodness, like my body hurt, right? But I know that if you stay in good shape and you exercise, you stay fit, you're going to be able to handle that impact a lot better. Now, second thing, and Dr. Zaino does this, and I now share this with my patients, is an anti-inflammatory protocol. Check this out. Write this down. Oh, by the way, we had a question here that was, what is the email address we can ask a question to? Okay, so again, if you have a question for me or Dr. Zaino, go. This is the email address. I'll put it in here in the chat. It's Chris Zaino at chirothoughtleaders.com. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the chat right now. Chris Zaino, chirothoughtleaders.com. You guys are always welcome to ask questions to that. So, not Phil, not bragging. Oh, Phil says practicing for 37 years, missed only 2 days. Wow. Best advice, take care of yourself. There you go. So a chiropractor right there who's done it. Chiropractic Weekly, get chiropractic care, absolutely get adjusted, take care of your spine, eat properly, and as Tabor says, exercise. 17 miles per day bicycle ride. Well, there you go, man. That doc has been able to do it for 37 years. He's rode his bike 17 miles a day. What an amazing, man, I love that. I absolutely love that. And then, so let me share this anti-inflammatory protocol. This is what I share with my patients when they're just flared up, man. They're just in horrible pain. And Dr. Zaino does this whenever you're bodybuilding, because you're putting that much kind of stress on your body, your inflammation can get high. So you have to do this protocol to keep the inflammation down and to keep it low. And what you do is you're going to get apple cider vinegar, and you're going to you can go to like the grocery store. You might be able to get it at a health food store, and you're going to get an enzyme called wobenzyme, WOBYZYN or something like that. Wobenzyme is what it is. And you can look it up on Google. And so anyway, between your meals, between like, let's say at breakfast, between breakfast and lunch, you're going to take 8 ounces of water, take a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, and then take 6, I think it's either 4 or 6 of those wobenzymes, drink the 8 ounces of water with the apple cider vinegar between every meal. And then with every meal, like breakfast, lunch, and dinner, with every meal, you're going to take, I want to say it's a large amount of fish oil. I want to say it was like 2,000 IUs or 3,000 IUs. I don't know, but whatever recommended day is, like triple it, and take fish oil with every meal, then your apple cider vinegar with water, and your wob enzyme. The wob enzymes help digest your food and help decrease inflammation in the gut. It's also good for joints. But you do that protocol every day, and oh my goodness, your inflammation just drops. I give that to my patients that are in a lot of pain. If they do it, a lot of patients won't do it, but if they do it, it definitely decreases inflammation. Awesome. Yes, round of applause for Dr. Phil. Absolutely. All right, cod liver oil also. Yeah. You could take, fish oil or cod liver oil, just an omega-3 with your meals, and then that 8 ounces of water with 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. Take 4 of the wob enzyme. They're enzymes that help you digest your food. You take those between every meal, okay? And that's an awesome anti-inflammatory protocol. And then, like Dr. Phil says, man, exercise, get adjusted, and keep a good, healthy diet. And I guarantee you, we're gonna make it. You know what? We're gonna be adjusting when we're 70, 80 years old. I always tell people, I'm not retiring. No way. I do not want to retire. What I want to do is maybe enjoy myself more, hire more chiropractors to run things, be able to go in when I want to be there and be able to leave when I don't want to be there, and like just enjoy owning a chiropractic office and sharing the message, and like I love it. I wouldn't want to retire from that. Just want to keep doing it forever. Ryan says, I bet the bone broth protein would help as well. Yeah, that bone broth protein from Josh Axe, considering it has ligaments and tendons in there, and then bone broth actually regenerates some of the things that you need for your joints. That's a great idea, Brian. I implemented a previous answer to you guys that you guys gave earlier. No more anteriors, no more lumbar rolls. Bam. That's a great idea too. I didn't even say anything about that. I know Zaino does not do anteriors anymore. He can't. The guy's adjusted thousands and thousands of people every week. And the anteriors hurt his chest and his hands and his wrists. So no more anteriors for him. I know he doesn't do any side posture adjustments either. He just does drop, and then he does P to A for the thoracics. And that's a great point, man. If there's some adjustments that hurt you every time that you give them, stop giving them. Find out a different way to give them. We all know that there's a million ways, different techniques and ways to adjust certain areas. And we need to start exploring those and learning about those and using those. So anyways, guys, I went over because I just really enjoyed this episode, and I want to thank all of you for asking the questions. What an awesome amount of question you asked there. Let's see. Ryan says, what about using the anteater that doc in Pennsylvania invented? I'm not familiar with that one, Ryan, but there are some things you can use to help with anteriors to maybe save your hand or save things like that. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for being on the show tonight. What an amazing show. Great questions. Thank you, everybody, for participating. And we'll see you guys soon. Again, the email, it's in the chat below, chriszaino@chirothoughtleaders.com if you need anything, if you have any questions. And we'll see you next week, next Wednesday. You know what, guys? Go out there and share your message. Share it with passion, and let's have fun adjusting and being having the honor of being a part of this profession. All right, guys, thanks so much. Have a great night, and we'll talk to you soon.